My name is Doug Kramer. I was raised up in the Scientology cult, woke up out of it in a single day in my early 30s, and unlike Tom Cruise, I can handle the truth about Scientology.
You want answers!
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
I have personally helped people get off drugs.
Which is great for me, man, because it's more business.
You know, I don't feel it's ignorance breeds bigotry.
Dude, that's tax-free, man.
What is this? I find that appalling when people who don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because they actually wanted to put me on drugs. My mother wouldn't let them.
You gotta be some kind of special nitwit, right?
No one's ever said that to me. People are interested in Scientology. I find that people wanted to know. That's when I became a Scientologist, about 20 years ago.
Man, guys like you cannot take a joke.
A friend of mine actually gave me this, it was actually this picture book.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Raised in a Secret Society series. This is episode 8 of season 2, and we're picking it up from the storyline from right where we left off in the last episode. Now, we've covered my family's background, how they got into Scientology, how they manipulated me and the rest of the family into Scientology. We've covered the psychological background and the mind control techniques of Scientology itself. We've broken that down in some detail. And we've covered all the way up to the age of 24 when I escaped the staff mission contract, which is what we talked about in the last episode. And now I head back to Los Angeles at the age of 25. In this episode, we're going to cover the ages from 25 to 30. And at age 30, that's when I achieved the infamous state of Scientology clear. Does it exist or does it not? Stay tuned to find out. We're also going to be covering my experience on the prison ship known as the Freewinds and some of the Scientology front groups that I worked with and some adventures in Hollywood. So, without further ado, I'm 25 years old. I get away from these assholes at the mission staff and I head back to Los Angeles to pursue my original dream as making it as an actor, which is rather foolish looking back at it now.
Corner the mistletoe. Somebody owes me a kiss.
Force me to watch Frasier no more, or that Buffy or Dawson's Creek. You're losing blood, Buffy. You're going bald, Gene Van De Beek. And believe me, it's true that I can't get no stiffy when these chicks on Friends are all pushing 50. And can we get something better to see instead of this that's on TV?
Oh, yeah. Celtics ain't got nothing on us.
I know, bro.
She thinks she's the shit.
So, when I get back to Hollywood, wouldn't you know it, the place that I move into is right across the street from Scientology Celebrity Center because I wanted to live right next door to the place that I thought was leading me towards spiritual enlightenment. And as anybody knows that follows Scientology, part of that spiritual enlightenment is capturing celebrities to do their PR work. I didn't, of course, know any of this at the time. As you guys know that are following along, I'm a full-on dedicated Scientologist, and I absolutely believe this is a technology to handle the world. So I mentioned earlier, too, that I felt like being a Scientologist gave me a confident reason to move out to Los Angeles to try acting to begin with, because it was a streamlined network that I thought would lead into the business. I didn't get any parts directly from Scientology, but I did meet some friends right away. It's so difficult to meet new people, and here I am in a town that I don't know anybody, but on day 1 or day 2, I go to the Celebrity Center, and the very first guy that I met, by the way, the very first celebrity that I met, C-level celebrity, was a guy named David O'Donnell. I fucking walk in there late at night. I'm super excited. I'm, just back from the mission and, finally pursuing acting again. And I roll in there. I'm at the Celebrity Center. I definitely felt like special. As I mentioned, that's why I call this fucking series Raised in a Secret Society, because you definitely are part of a clique and you feel like you have the secrets to the universe. So this absolute douchebag, arrogant C-level actor named David O'Donnell is sitting out there in the, they have like a place where you can get food and shit like at night. And he's sitting outside there and I recognized him and I said hi and he just completely brushed me off. Like couldn't believe I was daring to speak with him. And I was like, all right, so this is how they roll at Scientology fucking Celebrity Center.
I think that we're just ridiculous people.
Yes.
So anyways, another person that I met shortly after that, because I was trying to make a demo reel to break into acting. And one of the guys that shot demo reels for all the Scientologists was a guy named Lightfield Lewis. It's a really cool name. He is Juliette Lewis's brother. Juliette Lewis is, obviously was a famous actor. And now she's like in this terrible band. But anyways, here's a quick story of 6 degrees of Scientology cults, Manson, and Hollywood. So Lightfield Lewis is Juliette Lewis's brother, who I shot a demo reel with, and he grabbed another Scientologist to use to help us out in the name of Rachel Miner. So I met Rachel Miner while I was holding the knife up against her throat doing some fucking scene.
Everybody's watching. Tell them how you chin rub it.
And Rachel Miner did a movie called Bully, stay with me, with fellow Scientologist Bijou Phillips. It's a very small clique in Scientology as well as in Hollywood. And Bijou Phillips is married to Danny Masterson, who we did a video on, but I don't want to mention what it's about because it'll fuck the algorithm up. Go check that out. Now, Bijou Phillips' father is Papa John Phillips of the Mamas and Papas, and that ties into what we were talking about in the last 2 episodes when you get into the Laurel Canyon scene and just how intertwined Bijou Phillips' father was in the creation of the hippie movement. He was the co-creator of the Monterey Pop Film Festival in 1967, which kicked off the whole hippie revolution in a certain way. And what really kicked it off was a song that he wrote called like Going to California with a Flower in Your Hair or some shit like that. And that was the song that caused all the people that were distressed with their middle-class family to move out to San Francisco.
If you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear some flowers in your hair.
Anyways, so that's already happening when I move across this shitty, rundown, low-rent apartment right across from Celebrity Center so I can go do my choruses every day without losing any time. And that's where I met Lightfield Lewis, which got me in to meet other little celebrities, and I'm on my way, right? So I'm 2 years deep after being back in Hollywood, going up Scientology's ladder and trying to work myself up and get a leg in the Hollywood ladder. And I find myself out in the middle of the ocean on the Scientology prison ship known as the Freewinds.
Sailing far off the crossroads of the workaday world, it's the 440-foot motor vessel Freewinds, the Church of Scientology's senior-most religious retreat.
Actually, if they labeled that correctly, it would be called the Enslavement Winds, because it's almost impossible to get off of there. So here's the story behind this ridiculous event. There's a chick named Alexandra Power. She was this cute blonde chick that was in the Sea Org, and she was selling a chorus, and very convincingly, because Alexandra herself was going to be a very successful actress. I remember at the time she was starring opposite Bruce Willis in a movie called Last Man Standing. And right about then, when she was going to break, she got sucked into the Sea Org by a guy named Gavin Potter, who became, they became husband and wife. And I'm sure she's still in there to this day. This poor gal, I've watched her for years, just this bubbling, exuberant person, have to work and enslave her ass off in this stupid enslavement, profession called the Sea Org. Anyway, so, there's some people that I look back at that I really, really had fond memories of. She's one of them. I didn't know her that well, but you could just tell who the empathic people were in Scientology and who the psychopaths were. Anyway, so she would put on this event that was very persuasive where she basically, it's called the Route to Infinity course. And you can only do this course at the time on the Freewinds. So you had to go out into the ocean, and their theory is that you're away from the restimulation of the environment and out where you can think clearly. Now, real briefly, the whole metaphysics of Scientology is based on the fact that you're an all-powerful being. Thought, whatever you think creates reality when you regain your power. So you've been traumatized lifetime after lifetime. You undo these traumas through Scientology counseling, and then you naturally have the godlike ability to manifest whatever you want with thought alone. That is the goal in Scientology. So with that idea, it was sold on this course that at the very end of I spent it was thousands of dollars. You had to pay for the fucking plane fare and go through a whole bunch of check sheets, just like a checklist just to get in. It's a very long process just to get to the fucking ship. And the whole reason that I did this is because I thought I was going to be able to manifest a fucking acting job, because as the story progresses, you're going to see I'm getting more and more frustrated the more and more Scientology isn't working. And they always tell you the next level is going to handle it. But I'm still years away from waking up at this point. And I truly believe that, like it said on the end of this drill, you can manifest like a genie in a bottle, whatever it is that your goal and whatever it is you really want the most. I'm immediately thinking of The Secret and other, watered down versions of the law of attraction and shit like that. But Scientology is a very advanced, extreme gobbledygook version of that. So there I am, in the middle of what I would do is I'd kind of meditate in the middle of the ocean. I had so much apprehension as I was doing this course and getting towards the end, because I knew that at the end you had to prove and actually manifest whatever it is that you were thinking that you wanted to create. So of course I wanted to create an acting job. And, this is a little bit bizarre. It's placebo effect or whatever. It doesn't mean anything anyways. But I hadn't gotten any speaking parts up to that point. Or maybe I did one. I think I did one. But I actually did get a phone call out in the middle of the ocean to do an under 5 job, which we talked about in previous episodes, as a speaking part. But that wasn't what I wanted. I had down, in Scientology, you write down your goals, and it's kind of like having a vision board. So what I wanted was to be on a fucking series. I wanted to break into the business, get my first real opportunity, and live the rest of my life like that. Not to be famous, but because, like we talked about earlier, I cannot work a normal 9-to-5 job. And this is a main conflict in me and my family. I'm an artist. I'm a right brain person, and I believed in my dreams. And that's also what hooked me in Scientology, because it takes you out into a dreamlike, you can do anything mentality. So anyways, I came back really shattered. This was the very beginning, looking back at it now from the outside in, of me actually being able to wake up. It was a seed planted of doubt. Again, every level in Scientology, the next level is going to handle it, because you never really get what's promised, or it always wears off the high, right? So the fact that this didn't work, and God damn it, I was on that fucking ship it's what they call an OT course. So you're trying to revive your operating thetan, or your spiritual being perception. So they have drills where you try to become like the fucking hole on the ship, or this rock that you see on the beach, or you try to become all the space of the fucking ocean and even the universe. They have these really far out there drills on these courses that you do on that ship that, are honing your thetan powers. Anyways, it was a real letdown that this shit didn't work. I came back fucking crushed after that. And it took me a little while to get back into the swing of courses and auditing and all that shit. So that's my Freewinds experience. This brings us to the next chapter in my Scientology cult adventures, in the way of working at various Scientology front groups. Let's have Mr. Cruz introduce the next segment.
There's things that we can do to help you not be a criminal, get you off drugs, a way to happiness, clear body, clear mind, study technology, Criminon program. It doesn't matter what religion you are, these things work.
Scientology has many, many different front groups, and the reason for that is twofold. One, to disguise its connection to Scientology and its intentions, and to recruit unsuspecting victims into the cult, and also to do a sort of Crowleyan philosophy, which all these other secret societies do, like the Freemasons, etc., to balance out their bad deeds with their good deeds. In other words, they show the community all the outreach programs that they have and all the good that they do to disguise their true intentions, which is to leech the wealth and the life force out of that community. So there's 4 different front groups that we're going to quickly go through that I had experiences with, but there's a million more. And again, who better to introduce this than Tom fucking Cruise?
Punctuating that one is Tom Cruise at the Hollywood Education and Literacy Project, one-on-one with kids from the neighborhood. But with illiteracy swamping whole communities, he was soon fueling LRH learning centers all over the map.
He had these huge books I'd never seen before on study tech that I'd also never heard of. And this man came in by himself and explained through his heart what concerned him most about the fact that young people in this country don't know how to learn. They don't know how to study.
He says, hey man, here it is. This is study tech. Boom. And I'm telling you, people want help.
Tom Cruise, what his ruin was, what got him into Scientology, his button, as they call it in the cult, was dyslexia. He was reading backwards, and he felt that Hubbard's study technology fixed that. And you see him adamantly promoting it in that clip from 2005.
I learned something about you I never knew, that you were dyslexic and are dyslexic.
No, I'm not.
What are you?
I'm not dyslexic.
Do you have a problem with reading or writing?
No, I don't.
And where did that come from?
No. Well, I was labeled with it when I was 7 years old and kind of lived with it my whole life. And, when I became a Scientologist back in 86, after 87, later on discovered also L. Ron Hubbard developed study technology that actually to help me realize that that the false labels that are out there.
You were never dyslexic?
No.
Why did they label you that way?
Because that's what they do.
Trouble reading?
That's what they do. No, and later on, now we have, this technology that he developed that actually helps people to learn how to learn and discover that, I've actually helped people that have been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, and it's extraordinary what happens with this technology. We have centers all over the world now, that help people get this technology, and it's also in various schools and educated millions and millions and millions of people.
Just like Tom Cruise, I was at the H.E.L.P Center, Hollywood Education and Literacy Project, delivering and volunteering study technology to young children. Hubbard was a complete hack, and he stole ideas from everybody, really simplistic ideas, and repackaged them. And many of their front groups are based on those technologies. So we've covered the study tech in some detail in previous videos. We're not going to rehash it here, but it's kind of distressing looking back at, sitting with these fucking kids and brainwashing them. Again, you get brainwashed just like my dad did, and then it spreads and the rest of the family gets brainwashed. So I didn't know what I was doing. Tom Cruise definitely believes in what he's doing. I know exactly how he feels. But you are subjecting children to brainwashing. This is part of the problem of getting out of the cult too. And I think, why I'm doing these videos, because it's really therapeutic to go through and just kind of say what I did. Scientology has a version of that, which is terrible and used to psychologically manipulate you. But they have you get off your confessions, what they call overts and withholds, in their counseling sessions. And I feel like I'm kind of doing a version of that, but my own version, because it does, I have been getting, as they say in Scientology, lighter and lighter with each video. So I hope I'm not bagging on Tom Cruise. That guy, works his fucking ass off, just like a lot of Scientologist celebrities that I knew. And he's to be commended for his work ethic. And I feel some sympathy too, as to, because I can see and understand how he got sucked into it. But at the same time, he's not a good person. He is brainwashed, and he's very sociopathic. He's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde character. I think he hides a lot of that pain behind that magnanimous smile. The next, you guys might remember in 2005, this is when Tom Cruise in particular went on a huge rah-rah pump rant about disseminating Scientology across the world. And the next front group we're going to discuss is C.C.H.R, which stands for Citizens Commission on Human Rights. And this is their front group that's super, super anti-psychiatry. You might remember that heated interview that he had with Matt Lauer.
It's very impressive to listen to you, because clearly you've done the homework and you know the subject.
And you should. And you should do that also, because just knowing people who are on Ritalin isn't enough. You should be a little bit more responsible in knowing
I'm not prescribing Ritalin, Tom.
But when it comes to whole track suppression, Mr. Cruise doesn't only hit them at the flanks.
Not only has Tom Cruise personally toured more people through C.C.H.R than anyone I've ever known or seen, but he also has gotten people that he knows to do the same thing.
Tom is more involved in C.C.H.R than any other Scientologist that I've come across in my 27 years.
Oh, I'm going hard at those guys. I'm going to end their reign.
I worked from 2004 to 2005 at C.C.H.R as a public member, and therefore I got paid pretty well. I think it was like $15 an hour or something like that at the time. But if you're a staff member or a Sea Org member and you work for one of the front groups and or the organization, you make way, way less than minimum wage. It's ridiculous. I was actually I was working at C.C.H.R when that blonde chick that you saw in that clip named Jan Eastgate, who had in Scientology what they call extreme ethics presence. I was there when she was telling us, meaning me and the rest of the people that worked at C.C.H.R, to be on our best fucking behavior and to get our shit together. This is very serious, because Tom Cruise was bringing his then girlfriend, Penelope Cruz, into C.C.H.R on Sunset Boulevard to have her tour the place and look at it. Again, in 2005-ish, Tom Cruise was super, super adamant about suddenly really bringing Scientology to the global scale. So as he was making the rounds, one of the front groups was the C.C.H.R. And I want to read you just so that was my experience there. We'll say more about these front groups in general in other videos, but I want to keep it moving. I'm going to read you a little letter from my dad from several years ago, that just to give you a feel for how robotic and how it works in a Scientology family. Everybody has hats, and everybody's a terminal. These are desensitizing terms to take people from being human beings, like in a normal family, into more like robots or inanimate objects. So I'm going to read you a paragraph that my dad wrote me to give you a feel for what it sounds like in a Scientology family and the hats that people wear. And part of those hats, and why I work for these front groups, we're going to discuss more, is because I wanted to be a good Scientologist. I wanted to wear my hat. What they push in Scientology more than anything is what they call the third dynamic. That means the group. So in Scientology, you have 8 dynamics. And it's too lengthy to cover here, but these are the urges, the various urges that a person has to survive through. But the one that they push the most is not self, and it's not the God dynamic, which doesn't really exist in Scientology. It's the group. And this is a huge part of the mind control, because now in order to be a contributing Scientologist, you need to expend as much energy as possible working for their various front groups, disseminating Scientology, trying to get your friends in. It's all part of the status of the secret society. So check this out. This is what my dad writes. I know you didn't ask, but Mom and I are doing very well. I'm going to read that again because this fucking car was going by. I know you didn't ask, but Mom and I are doing very well. We're working our asses off and handling the daily challenges that come down our lines. Mom is the chief interior architect and exterior landscape designer for our house remodel job. This is in addition to her numerous hats as the chief bill payer, insurance expert, the go-to person for requests for advice / problem solving for the grandchildren and great-grandchildren. They love her and stay in calm, that means communication, regularly. I'm the chief executive in charge of all the labor inside and out in a department of one person. Additionally, I continue administering Criminon extension courses to inmates of the California State Prison System. This is going to lead into the next one we talk about. It's very rewarding as the success write-ups continue to pile up from the Way to Happiness course and other courses. So in a Scientology family, in my family, and in Scientology families in general, everybody kind of contributes to the cause, and that requires being super busy in their front groups. Let's move on to Criminon, where they claim to rehabilitate criminals.
The centerpiece of the Criminon program, the Way to Happiness course, replaces the criminal code of conduct with the 21 precepts of this common sense moral code, renewing the offender's sense of self-worth and restoring his self-respect.
Yeah, the program worked fucking wonders in restoring Charles Manson's self-respect when it was introduced to him in the prisons. This is how Scientology gets itself into the prison systems. Criminon was a front group formed in the mid-1970s, and before that, it went under the name of the Committee to Reinvoke Ex-Offenders, which was another Scientology front group. So the Criminon program works like this. They have a version of it that they administer to prisoners via the Purification Rundown and the Communication Course. Now, that's an extension of Narconon, which is another offshoot of Scientology that we've discussed in previous videos. And Criminon also delivers extension courses. And this is what me and my dad was involved in that you heard in that letter. So I've graded hundreds of lessons from inmates over years. And again, I was doing this to wear my hat. I thought I was being a good Scientologist, and these bad criminals were being rehabilitated by this cheesy, non-religious, as they say, common sense moral code. And the Way to Happiness is 21 precepts, which are designed to alter the criminal's moral code into something along the lines of these: do not steal, don't do anything illegal, do not murder, and do not be promiscuous, young man or young lady.
Hey, honey, what happened to your face?
So, after I returned back from the Freewinds in the year 2001 at the age of 28, and as a broken, shattered shell of a man, I took a little while to get back onto courses and auditing at the Celebrity Center. As we talked about earlier, I was really let down when I got back from the ship. And then I got back on my high horse eventually, and I signed up for the art course. I did some auditing called FPRD, or False Purpose Rundown Auditing, trying to go deeper into my mind to understand why shit wasn't working. This leads eventually to a realization that I had in session one day at the age of 30 that, wait a minute, the reason I'm having all these fucking problems is because I went clear in a past lifetime. I'm a past life clear.
Now, as you process the individual, you find that he gets better and better and more able. But is there any end to this?
Yes, it's a finite state known as clear. And that means that the individual has erased what the Freudian said was his basic illness, which is his reactive mind. His unconscious mind is gone. and he is totally alert and totally capable. And this state has been achieved, and our program actually in this has just culminated this last few months. Research is finished at this particular time because we are making such individuals, and we're making them regularly, and we're making them routinely.
I remember as a teenager, probably around like 14 or 15 years old, when I read the book Dianetics, because my dad was into Scientology and I just picked it up one day. And I was very intrigued by this state of clear. L. Ron Hubbard pontificates endlessly about this reactive mind that you have. And you're supposed to remove engrams, meaning moments of pain and unconsciousness that you have in your life that are fucking it up. And by relieving it, you become clear, a being who no longer has his own reactive mind. Now, the claims that he made in Dianetics are a clear would have a perfect memory, perfect recall, he would never get sick of psychosomatic illnesses, his IQ would increase, just on it goes are the claims. But I was intrigued. As you guys know, I didn't take to Scientology till much later, but this is my early indoctrination, and these ideas stuck with me. So there's several ways you can go clear. You can go clear on Dianetics. You can be a keyed out clear and stay cleared for a while, but then you kind of get sucked back into reality. And you can be a past life clear. So in auditing one day, like I said, in my 30s, I was going down the track, as they say. And what that is using your creative imagination to locate incidences of pain and trauma, either in this life or in past lifetimes. So one day I'm in session and I realized that I could see myself very vividly in this scene that I'm running in my head, that I was a Dianeticist, a Scientologist in a past life, and I achieved this state of clear, and that's why I'm having all these fucking problems. That's why none of this shit's working. As you go up the bridge, at least in my case, I got more and more desperate and more frantic to have these goddamn abilities, start to actually work in the way that L. Ron Hubbard said that they would. Sometimes it would seem like you'd have a little something happen and you'd feel really high, but then you would just go into what he called a sad effect. Anyways, after this origination, what happened is my auditor went through the folders and said, okay, it looks like he said something here where he might actually have been clear. So we're going to put him onto this clear certainty rundown to polish up, as they say, your state of clear. It's to rehabilitate it. It's to remember that moment, and then you'll snap into like the state of clear, right? So I thought this would take like one session, a couple hours or whatever. I was in there for like 2 fucking months, like every other day for hours on end, trying to search my reactive mind as to the thing that they wanted me to say, where they would just say that I was clear because I had this incident. I could see it clearly in my head and they weren't accepting it. What happens is you have to say the clear cognition. Are you ready for this? This is a secret. So what you have to say and what the auditor is looking for to declare that you've achieved this state is you have to realize that you were mocking up your own reactive mind. It's a very sick joke by L. Ron Hubbard, by the way, because here you are going through all the grades, studying all the choruses, trying to remove all these engrams for hours on end. And then the realization that you have is you were making it up, mocking it up, imagining it, creating it yourself, and therefore you don't have to keep creating it. Anyways, me and my mom also happened to attest to the state of clear during the same month. And I remember we were at the Celebrity Center. We were on the stage. We thought we magically co-created this to happen at the same time. And I remember we even got our little, picture and a little write-up in the back of their celebrity magazine. This is part of what they call mystical manipulation, by the way, and mind control parlance, because behind the scenes, they're sort of deciding when to, based on your bank account and other motivations, when to kind of like push you through the levels. So I'm sure that behind the scenes, something along the lines of this happened. You know what? Doug and his mom are close to the state of clear. Let's just do them in the same month, and then they'll probably give us a shitload of money and keep going up the pyramid. Anyways, somehow in these sessions, I finally must have said the right thing because I was led up to the 4th floor to a test. That's to get on the e-meter and they make sure that, you know, everything checks out. And I came out of there, man, fucking high as a kite. And you know what clear feels like, my friends? Because we've talked about this a million times. It's simply being hypnotized and disassociated. We covered that in the last episode in some detail, but that's exactly what it feels like. As I said, I was in a disassociated, suggestible state almost from week 1 of being in Scientology all the way up into about 10 years of being out. It's just a hypnosis trick when you break it all down, but it can have incredibly horrible ramifications when you're held under that spell. So that's my clear story. And I was ecstatic for about a couple weeks. And then the high wore off. And then I got even more desperate. So what do? I got to get up to those OT or operating Thetan levels, the confidential levels. Those are the ones that are fucking me up. If I can just get up there. So we're going to pick up the storyline from when I start the solo auditor course, part 1. And it just gets more and more retarded and ridiculous as we carry on. Friends, thank you very much for watching. And until the next one, as always, stay safe, stay well, and try to stay sane. Before we go, I did actually make an attempt to deprogram or snap Tom Cruise out of the cult, but needless to say, that didn't go very fucking well.
The aliens are spectacular.
Well, ever since that one started doing all those robberies, man, they all just sort of like disappeared, you know?
You have been there and you've seen it for yourself.
Yeah, there used to be a bunch, man, but now, like...
Well, that's how you felt.
I think it's appalling that they drug children.